Right, we're live. This is the 40th session online, I think, of the Qadim game we've been playing. The group is at the Last Oasis, where you have found that your mortal bodies lie under a sandstorm, probably slowly suffocating, while you stand in this odd wasteland, borderland area between this life and the next. As long as you have a shadow, you can attempt to go back, but over time your shadow will fade, and when it has completely faded, for pity's sake, Charlie.
As long as you,
hit mute while you are. As long as your shadow is as long as you still have a shadow, you can try and return. But if your shadow ever fades, then the only thing you can do is to carry on to the afterlife. So you have met several people at the Oasis, starting with a guy called Ali, who is an elderly gentleman with a grey beard. He has he's the guardian of the Oasis and tends it. His son is a guy named Aziz, who is a younger guy, lots of swords and daggers, very into grandiose stories of bravery and daring do, very into the warrior's code. Before we get on to probably the strangest of the people you've met there, you also met a young lady named Latifa and several of her guards, who were who you recognized as being from the Crimson Shield organization. When you first encountered them, they were undead outside the Oasis in some ruins. You killed them and they transformed into spirit birds and flew away. And then you met them here, but in their human guise. None of them have shadows, and they are about to partake in a last feast before they move on to the afterlife. The last person that you've met, or the last person, the one person we haven't described yet, is an extremely tall woman by the name of Farida, and she is dressed in robes. She's got a thin veil under which you can see really bright lipstick. She's wearing lots of makeup. She's very pale. Amazing smell of jasmine anytime she walks past you, really heavily perfumed. And she has been flirting with you. And the one thing that you do know is that Aziz really doesn't like her. So outside of the party, you have the other caravan. You have the caravan drivers, and the second in command on the caravan route was a guy named Ahmed, who Latifa has. Where are we? Latifa has said attacked her caravan and left them to die in the dust. She's really, really not very happy with him. His shadow is not as dark as yours. It is fading, which you noticed. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else that I necessarily have missed that's important, unless anybody can think of anything that I should have brought up that I haven't.
No.
Okay, so in which case, as we left last session, Latifa was you'd gone in to celebrate a final meal before Latifa and her guards leave for the afterlife, and as we left the last time, Latifa was just finishing singing a song of the desert and freedom and of her previous life, which was stirring and very soulful, very moving. And as she finishes the song, everyone claps, and Ali gets up and starts bringing out food with Aziz from the kitchen. You're all seated on cushions around this low table, and he starts bringing out various food and putting it down, and everybody starts to eat. Unless you tell me that you're not eating, I will assume you are eating.
Yes.
Yeah, the food is really tasty. It's been well cooked. It's heavy on the vegetables, but as they've got a garden just outside the this building, that's not a huge surprise. Yeah, and the conversation is open to you to describe to me what you're doing, who you're talking to.
Nabil would be trying to gather what information he can about this place, because, well, it's not every day you enter almost the afterlife.
Okay, so I mean, none of the who are you going to try and talk to about that?
Anybody who seems like they've been here for longer than a few days. So I guess I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy who seems to almost run the place.
Ali.
Yeah, Ali would probably be one of the first people to go and speak to.
Okay, so Ali is happy to talk to you. He's seems to be fairly open. He says that he does not really understand how the Last Oasis is there. He simply tends to it and welcomes those that that want to that arrive, helping them to decide whether they turn back or whether or not they move on, answering what questions he can answer, making them comfortable. He tells you that sometimes people spend a long time, even after their shadow has faded. They try and stay. He doesn't often go outside the Oasis, but he took over a long time ago from a previous guardian who decided to move on.
So this means there's after your shadow's faded, there is no limit on the time you can spend here.
No, you can make you make the decision when to move on. Make me. Blimey, it's been ages since I played 5e. I'm trying to think of an appropriate skill roll. Yeah, make me an insight check.
Okay, so that'll be 16.
16. He is it's not that he isn't telling you. You kind of get the feeling there's a topic of conversation that he's trying to avoid. He's trying to steer away from. But it's there's an area that he doesn't particularly want to go to. Yeah, he says, within bounds, there is no reason why most visitors would need to move straight on to the afterlife.
And does have we had any observations about how time works here?
Yeah, that time runs in a linear direction because somebody asked that last time round. So the time outside is moving at maybe a different perceived rate than it is here. So that that you have days here where you would only have minutes back in the real world.
So in Einstein terms, we're moving more slowly.
Yes.
Probably more within the mind rather than the body, because when you shut your eyes, time goes faster. Yeah.
But it's although you are moving at a slower pace, you're not going to suddenly find that somebody turns up from the past or somebody turns up from the future at the Oasis. The Oasis is moving at a slower pace. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Okay then.
Okay.
Does Elias still believe in religion? Or was he ever a believer in religion?
Make me a persuade roll.
Persuade.
Thinking probably persuade's the best.
19.
19. Okay. Eli tells you that while he was alive, he was not a religious man. He did not, to his shame, he did not follow the ways of the lawgiver. Actually, make me a quick insight roll.
Now you're asking to go better this. Yeah, I thought so.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He was not. He did not follow the tenets of the lawgiver. At least not as much as he should have done. And one of the reasons, when he arrived at the Oasis, the previous guardian showed him the folly of his ways, and he took over in order to in some way atone for misdeeds in his life. And that's why he's here, but he's fairly hazy about what those misdeeds might be. Anwar, meanwhile, and Rashid, I'm guessing, are held in conversation.
Yes.
By Aziz, who talks about past battles, talks about different things that he's seen, different stories that he's heard. Anwar, make me what would be a good one? I want a knowledge type skill. Make me a history roll.
Okay.
He goes and gets his dice out. That's not going to help him.
Oh, history. 18.
18. Okay. He talks about battles and various bits and pieces. You put two and two together, probably about the same time that Rashid does, and the two of you swap looks across the table when you realise that for all of his bluff and bluster, he must have been here a long time, because he talks about 2 engagements at Cadra, fighting off corsairs, and nothing about the way that he talks about it makes you believe that he wasn't actually there. These happened 150 years ago. Like I say, there are to the north of the north coast. There are several islands that are regularly populated by pirates that try and attack the shipping. And 150 years ago, there were some big attacks on Cadra, and you suddenly realise that if his stories seem to make sense and they tie him to that place, and he is speaking about history as it was, and he mentions one of the Mamluk of the Devoted, which is a Mamluk group based in Cadra, who came to the Oasis at a later date, and he talks about stories that he told of fighting with the forces at Cadra, which is probably only around 100 years ago. So there are little pieces of history that you tie into. So you realise that, yeah, while he has a tendency for over-exaggeration, actually, if you get him talking about battles he was in, he knows his stuff. He's an interesting guy to talk to. Suddenly, in the midst of the conversation, you hear a scream from the end of the table, and looking over, you see that it's Ahmed, and there are lamps on the walls, or hanging near the walls, and he has a hand up, and he's waving it forwards and backwards between the wall and the lamp. And unlike Charlie's new lamp, new light bulb, it is casting almost no shadow at all. His shadow has almost completely vanished. It is barely visible. And he just, after he does this for a moment or two, he just slumps down, and starts to quietly weep. Farida is at the meal, and she leans over to Nabil, and she says, time is running out for our dear Ahmed, I'm afraid. Soon he'll no longer be able to go back. But fear not, the Maiden of the Oasis can help you. That's why I'm here, after all, to help people. I can help you return to the world of the living before it's too late, before your shadows fade like your friends. Unless you have any objections, I could take you tomorrow morning. I believe, she points over to Yazid. I spoke to Yazid about guiding you. I spoke to your friend about guiding you only earlier this afternoon, and he seems quite happy with the idea.
Well, I trust that sounds like a good plan. We don't be a bad idea to linger here after all. Yes, we should. Tomorrow morning sounds like a good plan. And if there are already thoughts of that in the party, yes, thank you.
She smiles at you and says, "It's settled then. Oh, my darlings, I am so looking forward to our little journey." Aziz, in the meantime, leans towards Anwar, and he. Oh, actually, Yeah, I'm going to ask Yazid. Sorry, I'm going to ask Nabil and Youssef. Can you make me perception checks? And Anwar. Wow.
That's 21.
Okay, so you got 21.
19, 20.
20. Okay. So I'll get to that in a sec. So Aziz leans into Anwar and he says that witch is she is knowledgeable of the area, but don't trust her too readily.
Emma just kind of nods slowly. Doesn't say anything.
Okay. Yeah, both Yazid, both Youssef and Nabil, you realise that Farida is not eating. Pretty much everybody else is, but Farida is not eating anything at the moment. Yeah. So the food is good, and it's definitely tasty. The guards are slightly subdued. Latifah's guards, but they're quite seem to be fairly happy. And about, I don't know, maybe an hour into the feast, maybe a little longer. I'd like everybody to make me a perception check.
Another one. That's better.
That'll be an 8.
13.
16.
Okay. So, Anwar, you are the first of the group to notice this. Standing in the courtyard, just outside the doors. The doors are open. It's a pleasant evening. Standing, looking in from the courtyard outside, fairly intently, is an old man, bald, quite thin, and his eyes just look from one to the other of you. And as you look up slowly, the rest of the table start to see him, and the conversation falls. And in the quiet, you hear Farida mutter, "Oh no, not him again." Just kind of quietly under her breath. So Ally rises, walks out towards the man with his hand out, as if to just sort of gently take hold of him or shake hands. And the man points. This figure points a bony finger at Ahmed and shouts, "You are doomed, doomed." And he ends the words with this violent wave of his hands, as if to underscore what he's just said. Yeah, what did you got 16, didn't you, on your perception check? So you notice, the others don't, but you notice as he moves, you can see on the ground behind him, you notice that there's a shadow moving as well. So he has a shadow. Does anybody want to do anything?
If we stand in front of him, do we stop his shadow? If I cast my shadow over his shadow, can you only see my shadow, you know?
Do you want to get up and go out to him?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean the shadow is coming from the lamps that are lit inside the building that you're in.
Yeah.
He stood outside.
So there's more than one shadow, sort of.
Yeah.
Like
No,
football lights. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to see from outside into the dark, but there is definitely there's definitely kind of multiple shadows there. It's natural.
And do I create similar sorts of young shape, but similar sorts of shadows, or much darker?
Your shadow, okay. So you're trying to work out whether your shadow's lighter or darker than his. Your shadow is slightly lighter than his, not by much, but it's less substantial than this guy's. Can you make me a wisdom roll?
Oh, this can't go well. Now I've got to find out what my thing is for wisdom. Where the hell am I going to work out wisdom?
It's one of your stats.
Modifiers +2.
So that's a 16, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, like I say, you see your his shadow is slightly darker than yours is. You can't place it, but there is something familiar, something slightly familiar about this guy. So as you walk out towards, as you step out of the courtyard towards him, and he's only standing kind of 3-4 feet outside the door, and as you step through the door and look at the shadows, he glances down at the shadows and he just says, "You should not be here. You should return."
So how do we return? How can we return?
You should not be here. Return. You know the way. And he vanishes. Bang. Just gone. 1 minute you're looking at him, the next minute there is just nothing.
Okay, so how do we return?
Amma would have. Who was the guy who went up to meet him before?
Ally.
Ally.
The old guy.
He would have walked up to Ally and said, "Have you seen this man before?"
Ally turns to you and says, "He is an occasional visitor here."
How does he return back to normal?
I don't know. I feel that he every time he comes, his shadow is strong and it never wavers. He is never here for that long. An hour or two at most normally. But yes, he's strange. He does not strike me either as one of the creatures that lives outside, although they too have their shadows. He also doesn't strike me as a traveller, as somebody looking to move on. He's been coming on and off for a while. Sometimes months go by, and other times he comes regularly. Rarely he speaks. Rarely he converses with us, just occasionally. But yes, he is a strange one. I'd like to understand his story more.
Has he done the disappearing act before?
Yes. Sometimes he simply vanishes. Other times he fades. Other times he walks out into the desert away from the oasis.
Interesting.
So how can we leave this place to fight him?
Yes, he makes a good point.
And maybe find out the answer for you.
I know that the one who came before me said that there is a a way to return. And Farida, I believe, knows that way. And Aziz has got up and walked over to the rest of you. And he says, "Oh, she says she does." Alai gives him a look, and he kind of drops his eyes a bit and takes a step backwards. I do not know the route. I do not know the way. Farida may. But while your shadow is strong, I've been told you can return. Come. There is food still on the table. The feast is not finished yet. Let us not allow the strange wanderer to spoil the evening. Come.
I still feel there's time left.
Have some more.
Okay. Yeah, and walk back to the table.
Yeah. Can we eat some more?
Aziz walks over to you as you go back, Yusef, and says, "It is night out there," and you look, and it's darker. The night it's still light. It's kind of like there's a really good bright full moon on, but it is definitely a lot darker than it is during the day. And he says, at night it is less safe out among the ruins. My suggestion would be to wait until morning if you can. Your shadows, I've been here many times. I've seen many travelers come through. I do not think your shadows will fade for several days here. You should be fine until morning, and then by all means leave at first light. Maximize the time you have before the creatures out there prowl more freely.
I'll go back inside. Begrudgingly.
I am going to.
It's all too good to be true. A religious man.
Yeah. I'm going to converse with Sagira and see if she thinks waiting until the morning is wise. See if she's got any insight whatsoever she can bring into this.
Okay. Make a. I think I'm just going to say, actually, I'm thinking it's not really history or religion or arcana. It's just basic reasoning and logic, isn't it? Make me a straight intelligence roll with advantage.
Please, that's with advantage. That would be 15 plus her intelligence, which I will find eventually.
Don't worry, treat it as yours.
I'll treat it as mine, in which case that'll be 20.
Okay. Sagira is fascinated by the whole thing. You've had her muttered commentary in your ears at several points. Sagira agrees loosely with what Aziz has pointed out. Your shadow, when you first got here, your shadow was darker than Ahmed's, considerably darker than Ahmed's, and his has faded quite quickly. Yours has faded really slowly and is not as light as his was. Obviously you can only go on what they're telling you, but it would seem likely from what you've seen that, there are certainly, you've seen ghouls, you've seen all sorts of things out in the sands. generally such things come out more at night than during the daylight. Although in this place, in this dimension, this realm, who could say for sure how that works, whether or not that's still the same? But you know, it would make sense. So I would say, kind of between the two of you, I would suggest that you don't see any fatal logical flaws in what you're being told. You know, unless unless Farida and Ali and Aziz are all lying, which is entirely possible, then there's nothing to say that that what they're telling you doesn't make sense.
I think we'll yes, I'll stay here till morning, but I'm keen on getting a move on.
Okay. Well, the feast finishes. You know, unless there's any other particular conversations you want to have, the feast finishes. There's some sort of general conversation afterwards as people sit back and just allow their stomachs to settle and the food to go down. And Latifa looks around at her guards and stands up and says, "My friends, we've delayed." Why are you back in again? Yeah. Latifa says, we've delayed long enough. Your hospitality has been wonderful, but it is time for us to leave. And she turns and looks to you guys. Who was it who? Can anybody remember who it was who killed the who killed her ghoul?
It may very well have been me.
Okay. In which case, she looks at you. If nobody else is going to claim that kill, she looks at you in particular, and she says, "Again, I thank you for freeing me from that curse, and for allowing me and my comrades to move on. May fate be with you. May you guide your quest to return to the world of the living. As for us, it is time we left the borderland, and perhaps we shall meet again someday." And the guards stand up, and they go to step out of the building. So I'm kind of guessing that you guys follow them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. They walk out, and she turns and bows, and as she bows, she changes once again into the bird. She becomes this white dove. The guards behind her do the same thing, and they become falcons, and they take off up into the air and just fly out into the desert night. And everybody just stands and watches them go. There's a sense of quiet and dignity as they fly off, and there is there's suddenly from behind you this loud kind of blowing of somebody's nose, and you kind of turn around, and Farida is standing behind you with a handkerchief underneath her veil, and the makeup from her eyes is running in really horrendous ways, and she's just sobbing gently and just saying, "What a beautiful sight! It's so touching." And then just blows her nose again with this huge, long, racking, burbling noise. Yeah, it's kind of not exactly it hasn't trashed the moment, but it was a little surprising. And she comes round to each one of you and says, "Well, my darlings, I shall see you in the morning. It is time for me to retire. Farewell, Eli. I shall see you in the morning." And she reaches down and gives him a sort of gentle peck on one cheek, and she turns to Aziz, who kind of turns away from her and moves away from her. And she then goes to each of you in turn, and starting probably with Nabil, and tries to kiss you on the cheek. Is that something you're going to let her do, or is that something you're going to move away from?
If you can reach, yeah.
I'll politely receive.
Okay. Yeah, no, when she goes to kiss Anwar, she leans down slightly to kiss you. She is tall. She's very thin, but she is tall. So yeah, she kisses each of you in turn, and then walks off. And off on one side of the oasis, there's this kind of dense set of bushes and trees, very shadowy, and you lose sight of her as she sort of steps under the shadow of the tree and disappears off.
Mm.
Umar and the caravan drivers go and water the camels again, and Ali says, there's a oh, sorry, one thing I wanted to mention to you, because it would have occurred to your characters and it wouldn't have occurred to you, is when you first reached the oasis, Umar made sure that he shared salt. He broke bread and ate along with certainly Umar and Aziz. Therefore, you have a salt bond that, more than by tradition, as part of a way of life, about one of the most solemn things that you can have is the bond of hospitality and the salt bond. So for 3 days, you should be perfectly safe in the company. It is possible that they won't honour it, but to give you a sense of the strength of it, if you read the original of Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves, when the chief of the bandits comes to Ali Baba's house, he tries to make out that he has a dietary restriction that means that he can't eat salt, simply so that he will not have the bond of salt, because he wants to kill everybody in the house, in particular Ali Baba, but he wants to kill everybody in the house, but he will not be able to do that if he has shared salt with them. So it's
a Disney thing, is it?
No, it's not a Disney thing. It's the bond of salt is
a traditional thing, like the sanctity of the church, etc. Yeah. It's a given.
Yeah, it is. It is a cultural given that if you are in this, if you have shared salt with somebody, you are going to be safe from them. You are safe within that place. Their honor would be permanently besmirched if they were to hurt or kill you, or allow you to be killed. So I suddenly thought, because there was something that you were talking about earlier, and I suddenly thought, yeah, they won't necessarily tell the truth, but they would be incredibly bad hosts to hurt you while you were there. That's not strong enough, but yeah. So yeah, the like I say, the camel drivers go and sort out the camels and they water them. Ally says, you are welcome to sleep in the feast area. We can move the tables, or honestly, you be as comfortable sleeping out here. None of the denizens of the land will approach the oasis. They will not come within the bounds of the oasis. But it is down to you where you would like to sleep.
I want somewhere softish. In the hall, I presume it's got hard floors.
Yeah, the hall's got hard floors. I mean, you've been traveling for what, good 3 weeks by this point. You've got bedrolls on the camels. You've slept on rocky outcroppings. You've slept in caves. You've whether you're inside, whether you're outside on the kind of sand and earth of the oasis, or whether or not you're inside on the hard floor, it's going to be a better place than many of the places you've done.
Sand in the earth sounds good.
Okay.
Close to the building. But...
Yeah, I concur.
Okay. So you guys kind of start setting up camp. I will. No, actually, I can use. I was going to get you to roll a perception check, but actually, what I'm going to do is use passive perception for that. Who has got? Because it wasn't all the overlays. We haven't got the overlays anymore. Have I got this written down here or not? I've got a feeling that I haven't.
Anwar's got one.
Can you quickly just give me, Nabil, what's your passive perception?
That's going to be 12, I think.
Okay, Anwar?
Sorry, I think you cut out for a moment, Louis.
Sorry, what's your passive perception?
Okay. I have a feeling it is, 15.
Okay. Yazid's passive perception is unlikely to have gone up since last time. Oh no, he will have done, because his proficiency modifier is now a 3. So that's.
This is a good point.
Oh, actually, not that he's got proficiency in that. So that's going to be a 13, because perception's based on wisdom, isn't it? Okay, Yusuf? 12. And Rashid. Is Rashid a ridiculous passive perception or not? No, perception of 0. So passive perception of 10. Okay, so yeah, it will be Anwar is the first person to notice. You suddenly become aware of Ahmed laughing loudly over by the fountain, just as you're getting ready to kind of settle down, and you kind of hear this sound and look over, and Ahmed is standing over by the fountain. It looks like he has a cup in his hand, and he just takes another big swig and laughs again, and just says, "I've found the way to get my shadow back." And he takes another cup and just like throws it back. And I think you'll all become aware of this, but I would suggest that probably Anwar was the first person to get that.
Yeah, Anwar would see this, and if I remember correctly, drinking the water was the one thing we were told not to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at first he'd like get up to try and stop him, and then realizing he'd already drank and he was drinking more, he'd kind of just sigh and just sit back down.
Okay, so you kind of stand up and look at him and just think, yeah, and go to sit back down again. Nabil, Yusef,
is his shadow getting darker, stronger?
It would be kind of difficult to tell. It's it's kind of like it's like a good bright full moon out here, and his shadow was almost gone. So make me a perception roll.
Ooh, 18.
18. It doesn't look as though he's got any more of a shadow. It doesn't look like he's got any shadow at all, to be honest.
Yeah.
He barely did before. Yeah.
We'll have to check with him in the morning and find out what the fountain actually does, that we're not supposed to drink it. Yeah.
Okay, so what are you doing? So you see kind of Ahmed just drinking
slugging
this.
back cups of water.
Yeah. So physically, what are you doing? I know you're looking to check the shadow, but are you going towards him? Are you sitting down? Are you?
I'll go towards him, I think.
Okay. So you start to step towards him, kind of looking at his shadow.
As we were told not to, it'd be a good idea while somebody's doing it to have a good look and maybe save them.
Yeah. Okay. Nabil?
Oh, there he is.
There's nothing we can do now for him. I think we've just got to let him run his course.
Okay, so you're just staying kind of sat pretty much where you are. Okay.
Ask him why he thinks he's getting his shadow back.
Okay, so Yusef kind of stands and starts to walk towards him, kind of looking at his shadow and saying, "Why do you think that
your shadow is getting
why do you think you'll get your shadow back?" He turns and looks at you with the cup in his hand, and he said, I asked, and that's what she and he just suffers some kind of seizure and falls to the ground, and is just twitching. As you're the one person that's standing up and has been moving closer to him, are you going to kind of head over to him?
Yeah, I'll head over to him.
Okay.
I'm not actually going to touch him, but I'm going to get right.
No. Okay, so you rush across to him. So I just want to check the map and work out how far away you would have been and things like that.
I can do 30 feet.
So I know. Yeah, and it's you weren't that far from him to start with. He's just around the other side, sort of just around one side of the fountain. So yeah, you head towards the fountain, and he's off just to your right. So you head towards him, and he's lying on the floor, and before you can get to him, his body just kind of morphs and shrinks, and it turns into it's a bird. You will give it's a bird. It's squat and ugly, with kind of grayish feathers, and really, really small wings. And as you step towards him, so you're maybe like 5 foot away from him.
Range, not knowing what it is.
Well, yeah, but you're kind of you've got to the fountain, and you're kind of starting to edge around the fountain, and a voice comes from further off to your right in this grove of trees where Farida lives, you kind of you can just about as you glance over, you can just about make out where she is, but she's deep still in the shadows, and she just says, oh, "Dearest Ahmed, your time has come. You've drunk the water of the fountain, and your shadow is gone. You've been very foolish, but it's too late now for regrets. You're expected at another place, and your new masters aren't quite as patient as those of Latifa and her guards." And you hear some growling behind you, not behind you, behind her. And you can see two very large shapes coming out from behind you, behind her. Yazid in particular, because you're probably the only one that can see the shadows, because you're the one that's Yusuf, because you're the one that stood up and close enough and looking, you can see the shadows. The rest of you kind of trying to make out where the voice is coming from because you're further back. What do you want to do?
How big are these shadows?
They are.
Is it a menacing growl? Or just a growl?
It's a very deep growl.
It's
put it like this. The shadows are big.
Yep.
They are really genuinely very big.
I would back around the fountain and put it between me and the shadows.
Yeah, I was gonna say they are. They are really quite sizable.
Big enough to worry about, yeah.
Definitely big enough to worry about. Kind of, I don't know what, probably getting on in height for a small horse.
Oh, it's definitely time to back around the fountain.
Yeah, bear with me.
Use it as something to put between me and them, because they're possibly not after me anyway, considering what's been said.
Yeah.
Being in between them and their ugly duckling is not a good idea.
Yeah. Okay, so right, let me look at the stats that I've got for this. Okay, so you're saying you're kind of moving fairly speedily towards the other side of the the other side of the fountain. Okay, there is suddenly a huge roar, really loud, and from the bushes. No. From the bushes come. Actually, make me a religion roll.
Ooh.
I'll tell you.
I could get 5 on this. Oh no, 21.
21. Okay.
That's sorry, 20. 20.
That's all good. That's all good.
Yeah.
Okay, so you recognise what's walking out almost immediately. The first thing that you see is a very large snout of a crocodile, but it's way too high to be a crocodile. And as the front end of what looks like a large lion starts to follow this, you realize that you're probably looking at an ammut, which so
like the Egyptians drew,
yeah. head of a crocodile, kind of front legs, shoulders, head and mane of a lion, and the back end is hippopotamus. And the same as in Egyptian mythology, they are the eaters of souls. You have definitely heard of these things.
I've seen one now.
you have now seen one, which does not settle your nerves any. These things just stride forward into the clearing, and And
can I do a few blessings and other bits? Just local prayer.
yeah, you can. Is there anything particular that you'd like to cast?
No. I'm just doing the god stuff, or the deity stuff.
Yeah.
As you would do in panic when you know it's a religious moment.
Asking Najam to protect you,
safe to keep me in this world, and
yeah,
all the usual stuff.
A cleric in Najam would surely revel in the fact that he's seen these mythical things.
Reveling in it. I want to live long enough to explain it to somebody else.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. These two things come out and they roar. The roar is almost physical as it comes out, and they just both stalk forwards and fall on this bird, just tearing it to shreds, ripping chunks out, throwing it up, and just kind of grabbing it, swallowing it, and having another bit. And in seconds, this bird that was Ahmed has gone. And they stand and they look. Actually, probably not so much at Yusef, because you're definitely round the back of the fountain. But they look at you, and their eyes turn and look at each of you in turn. And the sensation is very much that you are being personally studied and looked at.
Who's next?
And once they've looked around, they look at Umar, and their eyes definitely kind of rest on Umar for a little while, and then they move on to each of the different caravan drivers, one after the next, and then they just turn and pace back into the woods. And you hear Farida's voice kind of float out of the shadows, and she just says, "That's it, my darlings, back to bed." And she too is gone. Umar is jaw on the floor, wide-eyed, thousand-eyed stare, as are some of the caravan drivers are pretty shocked and terrified.
So can I go and look at the cup he was drinking out of?
You can go and look at the cup.
I'm guessing it was a cup, because you did say cups of water.
Yeah,
it could be a goblet. You never know.
Okay, so you start to step around the fountain to see if you can spot this cup. What are the rest of what do Anwar and Nabil do?
The crazy man was correct.
Nabil probably sits there for a few seconds. Religion. Oh. So I've got.
Sorry, Anwar, do you want to roll a religion check as well?
Okay.
That will be 26.
Okay.
And that will be probably not great. Yeah, 8.
Is it 2 and 6?
8.
Yeah.
Okay, so Anwar, you have no idea what those things were or quite what just happened, but that's fine. As you said, you knew this was going to run its course. You just weren't expecting it to run quite that course. The roaring of those things is still kind of ringing slightly in your ears.
Yeah.
Nabil, you do know what those things were. The Devourer of Souls, the same as Yusef has heard the stories and probably told the stories. The Amats would come and claim the souls of those who were unholy, those who were were evil upon their death. Somebody evil would have that. If an Ammit ate you, you would basically be going to hell. And you have that sudden realization as well that that's what you've just seen happen.
We have a quick break.
Sorry?
We can have a quick break.
I was going to suggest that we had a quick break there. I just want to find out what Nabil and Anwar were doing, and then.
Well, I am probably very quickly thinking about reconsidering taking Farida up on any kind of invitation at all, especially given that she hasn't shared the bond of salt with us. Whilst I don't think that in its own is likely to be an issue, I'm sure that she's the person I want to be showing us, well, to be trusting to take us off into the middle of nowhere.
Okay. So you're just sitting, looking at that, thinking, okay, maybe I don't want to be around her.
I will at some point spark up the conversation with Sagira of, is this still a wise idea?
It definitely changes certain parameters of the equation. Anything else running through Anwar's mind?
Nothing's changed really.
Okay.
He drank the water we were told not to. It ran its course. Unless we drink from the water, she is of no threat to us.
Yeah. Okay. So at least one of you will catch sight of Ally very sadly shaking his head and stepping back into the building with his head and shoulders slumped a little as he heads off to bed. And yeah, I reckon that is probably a fairly good place to take a quick break.
Yep.
So yep, drink them if you got them, and we'll be back in a couple.
Yep. Okay. I'm back.
Boo.
Yep.
Oh, that's slightly odd.
Right.
I haven't really looked at your headset while you're wearing it so far this session, and suddenly it's not whiting out anymore. You've got this little band of shadow.
Oh, it's even better than that, because if I took it backwards, you watch.
We were saying he looks like the guy from Empire, running running Cloud City.
Lando's space station.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah. Yeah, if you tip it over the back, it just disappears and then gone. Yeah.
I like that.
There we go, Charlie. Once you've retired between mountain bike races, you can go around.
It looks like someone's been up with a samurai sword and taken the top of my head off now. If you sit in the right place, it just vanishes, like gone.
Like
shows your radiant personality.
What, radiant?
Radiant.
I can't roll my R's like that, so it's no good.
No, nor can I.
Well, I think I've worked out what happens with Firefox and Google. It just pastes it into whatever screen's left over as best fit as it can, keeping the height.
Ah.
So if I make the window wider, I get the sides appearing in. If I make it taller, all that happens is I lose more of the sides. So it's making it fit the window that I've got.
Yeah. I've got to have a really good investigate about what to do and whether to go I
There's
think I might
one-
have to go roll
One
20.
thing tonight I've spotted: if you go into the talk window, the chat window, at the top it says "Die Stream and Roll 20 apps will no longer be available after the 25th of April."
Oh yeah. I've known about that, and I know there's big changes coming. They're basically taking out support for the API, but there's a lot of talk people saying, well, okay, what are we going to do instead? Are we going to stay or just with Hangouts?
Or we go straight to Roll 20.
Do we go to roll 20? And I think for roll 20 most people have been using Hangouts to do video part. How's that going to work? Is that going to work? Do we go to something else?
Yeah, part.
I need to do some.
We played the whole game without the video part last time with Simon.
Yeah.
It sort of works, but there's no facial expressions and
Yeah, we'll give it a try some point. I might give it a try in a fortnight.
and silly character heads popping up, changing the face and that like I did last time or a couple of times ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so long as Windows doesn't decide to do an update on me, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, all I can say is, James, we'll have to take the hard drive out of your laptop and put an SSD in there. I can't believe the difference.
Well,
I know it's huge, but I didn't realise.
I don't think I'll bother with that machine.
No, you get people with 5-year-old laptops that are like, oh yeah, yours will be faster. Really? What specifications are you running? Oh,
Me.
snap.
Right, I dropped a quick note out to see if see whether or not Simon can. Simon's nearly back on. Then again, if he's probably driving back, in which case he won't answer anyway.
Oh, well, I'll get James to look at this one while he's sitting there. Have a look at that, James.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a Sony lover.
Yeah, it's still a watch. I'm not convinced.
Well, I can't see it as I can't get the chat up, I don't think, without...
No.
Oh, hang on. If I go in...
Send it to him on Messenger. No, James, don't. You'll
just
do
Sony's
kill the
Smartwatch
phone.
3 and that'll be it.
Send it to him in Messenger, and he can have a look at it afterwards. But
No, if I use the tablet, I should be able to look at it via that.
Yeah, you want the black rubber one, not the metal one. All right. They're about 78 quid now, something like that. 69.99 now if you hunt around a bit. Brand new. But in about another 2 weeks' time, all smartwatches will drop in price. Because they're bringing out Android 2 for smartwatches. They're bringing out the new version of the Smart Connect.
Yeah.
Which is going to bring out massively increased price watches, the new ones, and the ones that are out there now that aren't compatible will be plummeting in price.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I want a smartwatch, though.
I was after a GPS watch. Because if I can't take my phone, I'll do something. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of see the point of having all of the fitness tracking bits.
That's not the fitness tracker. I just want the GPS and the need not to take my phone with me on the bike ride. And having a waterproof, semi-indestructible watch in a rubber case.
Yeah, I'll lose it or break it, one or the other.
It costs the same for the smartwatch as it does for buying a GPS watch, a dedicated GPS watch with a heart rate monitor and a running schedule that I don't want. So
if you've not got it hooked up to your phone though, you can still record?
You can still get a quad core processor, half a gig of RAM, or 512 meg of RAM, or whatever they decide to put in them. Yeah.
I don't know. I can't. I still just.
I know it's too small.
Yeah.
It's all right for a quick notification that you have a call from Fred. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I think we're probably not going to wait for Simon.
We're going escaping.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I've got something I want to open in the background. I suddenly realised I could open in a book, but I don't really want to. So, give me a sec. I go. Okay, Simon reckons it'll be about 2 minutes. So, you guys all right with where it's going at the moment?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yep. Yeah, I want to get out of here, but yeah.
am I comfortable with where it's going?
Assuming we're going to escape before we get eaten, yeah.
I have to say, I didn't ask were you comfortable with it. I just said There we go. Right. If I need it, I've got that there. Okay.
Was it the Smart Band 2 you were talking about, Charlie?
Smartwatch 3.
3.
Smartwatch 3.
Also, just a novelty fact: there's a kids' watch out there that you've got a SIM card in, and the kids can use it as a watch, and you can call them on their watch and talk to them. Yeah, and they can press the button and only call you.
Oh.
And it's about 20 quid for the watch.
I'm hoping you can also GPS track them from it.
Yep, it's a full GPS tracker and everything else.
I quite like that. That
So
sounds
buy your kids a watch that you can call them on, and they can only call you on. But you have to put a SIM card in for that bit. Otherwise, GPS won't be able to transmit to you. Yeah.
like that. Might have to tell my brother about that.
Have a quick search. They come as little proper kids, colourful plastic-looking watches.
Yeah. I'm
Kids
thinking on the one hand, I want to wait for Simon. On the other hand, I know I don't particularly want a late night, and I know.
So when's he going to join us? Because it's getting towards that time now. It's 9:45 now.
Yeah. He said it'd be about 2 minutes. I am going to start, and as he turns up, he turns up. So, yeah. So post Ahmed's demise, there is a fair amount of flutter, as you can imagine, in the other caravan drivers. Umar is in particular, frankly, terrified, and really disturbed. Yeah, all of the rest of the caravan drivers are pretty wired by the whole thing, but I'm guessing you guys kind of briefly talk it out amongst yourselves and then bed down for the night.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think was Nabil going to question the wisdom of going with
what's her name?
with Farida.
Yeah. Yes, he was.
Okay. So, he shares that. I don't know what the rest of the group's thoughts are.
Has she shared a bond of salt with us?
Farida. Don't think she has. She Aziz hadn't until the meal. So it wasn't that she wouldn't when you first met her. So you first met a lie and you shared a bond of salt with a lie. And then when Aziz came out, you were already chatting. And then when Farida introduced herself, you were already chatting. So the first time that you shared a bond of salt with with Aziz would have been at the meal. Likewise, but you noticed that Farida wasn't eating. That said, the way you would probably look at it generally is that the bond of salt would count because you were the group. It was group hospitality. So if you shared salt with one of the group, the whole group would be bound by the bond of salt. I'm pretty sure that's the way it works.
Okay. I'm still not sure about this, but I think it's probably our best chance.
Okay. Well, I'll let you ponder it as you sleep. So you guys bed down. You've spent far less comfortable nights in the last month than you are here. It's fairly pleasant. There's fragrance from the various flowering bushes around the hut. There's the gentle. I know where this is going. The moment I say it, this is the gentle sound of the blue and gold fountain, and yeah, there's the wind in the bushes. It's quite scenic, quite picturesque. Probably takes you I don't know, maybe an hour or so to really get off and just to get into sound sleep and not be kind of every time there's the tiniest sound just like half opening an eye to see what it is. But you go to sleep. You see Aziz kind of wandering around occasionally. And about, it's probably been 2 hours, something like that, since you went to sleep. You hear as you hear the. In fact, I'm going to suggest that the person that probably wakes up first will be once again Anwar. Anwar, the sound of a bowstring. It's a fairly distinctive sound, and it's one obviously with your Mamluk training that you're used to. You hear the sound of a bowstring, and it's not too far away. And at first, you kind of you come to thinking, was that actually a bowstring, or did I dream?
Yeah.
That, and you can hear. I'm trying to think, what can you hear? I don't know that you can hear much else actually. And then you suddenly hear a kind of, and again, from the far side of the fountain, and it sounds like it might be Aziz, and there's another twang of a bowstring.
Yeah, he'd already got up and got his scimitar probably.
Okay, so you get up and pull your scimitar, and as you stand up, so I'm suddenly thinking, yeah, you can see the far side of the fountain from where you are. There's the mosque, and then there's kind of the edge of the wooded area where Farida lives, and between the gap between them, you can see a figure with a bow, and he's pulling another arrow and knocking it and pulling it back, and you see him release and yell out, not all that loudly, but in kind of exuberation.
What's he firing at?
You can't quite see from where you are. You're probably 20, 25 feet from him. Whatever he's firing at is probably behind the mosque. I mean, it's a small mosque. It's only kind of 20, 25 feet
Yeah, okay.
square.
Is he going to wake us up, or is he just going to...
No.
No.
Not at this point. He'd walk over. Just trying to see if he can recognise who it is, like, properly.
Okay. Are you going stealthily, or are you just walking across?
Not particularly stealthily, but not loudly.
Okay. Okay. Hello, Simon.
Evening all. Sorry I'm late.
That's all right.
I've only got one dead character, all right.
Oh, right, okay.
That's not your one.
Is it yours, Charlie?
No.
He was an NPC, not a character.
All right.
Technically still character.
I'm not entirely sure that immediately at the moment I can explain everything that's happened in the last hour.
Give it a minute.
So
But
yeah,
anything can happen the next half hour.
See, that's parenting done right. Jerry Anderson references straight away. Okay, I think so. Anwar has woken up in the middle of the night out the front of the Oasis and has heard the twang of a bowstring and has spotted a figure the far side of the clearing between the bushes where Farida lives with her pets and the mosque, and he's shooting arrows at something behind the mosque. It's dark in as much as it's night, but like I say, it's pretty clear sky. Sort of, during the whole of the day, it was kind of faintly hazy, but it's kind of clear sky, and the whole thing's bathed in moonlight. There are no stars, which is interesting. But yeah, so you walk across, and probably, I don't know, once you get to about the edge of the mosque, it is Aziz, and he looks over his shoulder as he's pulling a third arrow, and he looks over at you, smiles, looks down at the scimitar, and says, "You'd be better off with a bow. They won't come within the grounds itself, but it's good sport." And he pulls back another shot, and lets go. And shakes his head and says, "Whenever there's an audience," and just goes for another arrow. And if you're walking towards him, you can see there are some dark humanoid shapes behind the mosque. There's a sort of boundary 10 foot behind the mosque, where kind of the desert ends and the Oasis starts, and just outside this boundary, it's not a wall, it's just there's a kind of change in texture of the soil and stuff. It's where the sand stops and the Oasis kind of properly starts. There's a little bit of scrubland. Just outside that, you can see, I don't know, 7, maybe 8 humanoid shapes kind of scurrying around, quite shadowy. And as you see them, Aziz lets off another arrow, and one of them just straight in the dust. And he turns to you with a big smile on his face and just says, "See, still got it."
What are they?
They're the denizens of the outside. Ghouls, the undead. And he spits in the sand next to him. He says, You brought a bow, didn't you?"
Yes, I have a bow.
"Show me what you've got."
You had to think for a moment, and I think, you know what, I don't particularly like ghouls, so he would say, give me a moment. And he'd turn back and get his bow.
Okay.
Did you bring your IKEA trebuchet with you?
It's flat packed on the side of the camel. Are you gonna wake anybody else up?
No.
Okay.
At the moment, he doesn't feel dangerous, so.
Oh, okay.
And the only other person who could use a bow's gone, so.
Okay. Who's that?
Jafar could use a
Oh,
bow.
yeah. Yeah, that's a fair point. Okay, so you heft your bow and walk back to him. And like I say, yeah, they're kind of scurrying around. You kind of get the sense that they're almost scenting the air.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of almost stands to one side and just kind of gestures to you.
Okay. Again, there'd be a pause where it's clear I was thinking whether this is actually a good idea or not. And after a moment, he'd bring up the bow and try and aim to hit one.
Okay. Make me an attack roll.
Okay. I think that's going to be a hit. I'll check the modifier. Yeah, 22.
22. Okay. Yeah, your arrow sinks home pretty solidly into the one closest to the boundary. Do you want to roll me damage?
Yep, that would be. Oh, 8.
Okay.
Damage.
You see this thing kind of reel from the blow, and you kind of catch sight out of the corner of your eye as Easy's just nodding with this big smile on his face. This is another like that. You'll put him down.
How do they get out here?
They are the natural occupants of the borderland. Think about it. And he takes another arrow, knocks it, pulls it back, sights down the arrow. The arrow just lands into not the one that you shot, but another one of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, those that are here are neither alive nor dead. Those that are out there are neither alive nor dead. At the moment, you are neither alive nor dead. Neither am, well, perhaps I've been here so long that I am. But for them, they have shadows. The shadows never dim on them. Even shooting them. And this, the same one that he hit last time, just like, bob, hits the deck and just skitters away. He said, as I understand it, they don't die. They go and they'll be back in a slightly different form in a day or two. But they keep up your target practice.
If we're to leave here, is it likely that we'll come across many of these things? Be pulling another arrow, he says to us.
Well, they're out there all the time. Mostly they come at night. Mostly. But in the daytime, they're there. They may attack. Unlikely that they'll attack you unless they're really hungry. As they cannot reach here, I cannot reach them in this form. To leave the oasis, I must take hammer form. And therefore, there is little sport to be had. There is a small area where they can maybe get to, and occasionally I will check that my blade is still as sharp as I think it is. But I can't go out there. But I wouldn't have thought they would attack you. If it gets dark, then they will attack. It's the way of the borderland. I'm not sure how safe it would be if you were to try and go back, but and he reaches out where he doesn't have an arrow in his right hand and taps you on the shoulder and says, "You and your companions seem to be capable of dealing with things, and such as treat with genies and explore magical wizards' towers. You surely have nothing to fear from such dirt as these."
Okay, right. Non-natural 20.
Okay, the one that you the one that you shot at last time, you just put down.
Yeah, I just wanted to check that I was going to hit it before it said. And we're kind of sort of nods and kind of just semi-looking, like semi not even looking. It just kind of and says, "Perhaps so."
Aziz laughs and puts another arrow into another one, and you hear from behind you Farida's voice yelling out, "Aziz, you fool! Your head must be full of camel dung. Stop it! They're innocent creatures. They can't attack you here. What are you doing?" Aziz turns around and looks at you in disgust. How does Anwar respond?
Kind of just mutters, "Well, there are two sides to every argument."
You see her walk out of the bushes and the trees, and she's still in the white with the veil, and she looks at you and says, "Anwar, I am surprised at you joining Aziz in these foolish games. They're no threat to you. They will be gone by morning. Leave them alone."
He'd kind of look at her and he'd put his bow away and say, I'm truly sorry, Frida. I've had some bad past experiences with these creatures that must have got the better of me."
"Yes, and you were led on by this cretin." And Aziz just kind of looks at you and looks at her and slings his bow and goes off in a huff.
"Yes, this place, unlike the rest of my group who probably understand it a bit better, it's all rather confusing. I think sometimes something you're used to is just something to hold on to. My apologies again, though."
"That's all right, child. Go, sleep. It is night. In the morning, I believe we have a journey to go on."
"Yes, we do. Yes, I will go back to sleep now." He kind of just, like, I can't remember what they're like, if they have a greeting thing or like a goodbye thing, but it make his leave.
Yeah. May the peace of the lawgiver be upon you. And you kind of wander off, and
just bowing very slowly out.
Yeah, you can feel her eyes on you as you kind of make your way back to the bedrolls. But by the time you get back to the other side of the fountain and turn and look, she's not there anymore. Aziz has gone, and you get back off to sleep. I'm guessing without too much trouble, although trying to think about exactly what you have agreed to, and in the light of what Nabil said, how good an idea it would be to continue to follow that. The sun dawns the next morning, and at this point, I'm going to say this might be not a bad time for somebody to try and give Simon a quick recap of what's happened.
Quick recap.
You shot some arrows at some things.
Yeah.
Well,
Somebody drink from the fountain and get taken away by the, what were they? Part crocodile,
Ants.
hippo, and
Lion.
lion.
Okay, so you I didn't mean to do that. Give me a sec.
we were eating the foods. A man appeared, and he had a very strong shadow, and he said to the guy, that's not helpful, Ahmed, that he was doomed and that the rest of us should leave. And then Yusuf went up to him to examine his shadow, and he just told him he should leave again. And he was like, "How?" And he just said the same thing again, then disappeared.
We did say you know the way.
Oh, he said you know the way as well. That's probably quite important. And then he disappeared. And yeah, we asked, is
Ahmed had realised that his shadow had almost completely gone. I think that happened first.
Yes, that also happened. Then they don't really know who he is. He just comes and goes and disappears sometimes. And he doesn't often speak to them, but he was a bit of a mystery man. Can't remember the exact details of the discussions we had next. I think largely that we were talking about how we'd get back, and Frida knows the way, but it's another name. I think it begins with an A again, but I can't remember it.
Aziz
Charlie
or
said
Ally?
someone died. Who died?
Oh yeah, and they said someone said he didn't trust him. Then we went to sleep. We were about to go to sleep.
Before that, at the end of the feast, Latifa and her guards
That was it.
at the end of the feast said goodbye and transformed back into spirit birds and flew off. And then, yeah, just as you were retiring for the night,
We heard laughing and saw that Ahmed had apparently just found a way to solve the problem of his shadow disappearing by drinking of the fountain. At which point Anwar got up to stop him, realised that he'd already drank from it, and then just sat down and gave up. Yeah, I think Yusuf went up to him and in the process saw that he had no shadow. And then Frida came out.
He transformed into a really squat, ugly spirit bird.
Oh, yeah.
And then, yeah, Farida came out.
With these two big lion hippo things.
Two Amats with her who are kind of back end of a hippo, front end of a large lion, and a mane of a lion, but the head of a crocodile. The Eaters of Souls. And they proceeded to eat Ahmed.
Ahmed the bird.
I hope he was good eating.
He probably wasn't, but
Was he
for a creature that
good?
Try and chicken out, so you know.
Oh, foul jokes all around.
Yeah, for the size of these things, one small Ahmed bird was probably not huge. Was probably not a great meal, but
It wasn't a KFC family bucket then.
No.
no.
Anyway, so yes. So then they went away, obviously.
Yes, they went back into the kind of forested area where Farida stays, and her part
Then
in
we all
the
went
line
to bed
was-
after the sleep because we're all good boys.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then I woke up because Aziz was shooting ghouls, and you basically had the rest.
Right.
And it is now early the next morning, and the sun starts rising. I'm guessing that all of you, I mean, you were all talking about getting an early start, so I'm guessing you kind of wake pretty much with the sun, yeah?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you guys wake up, and I'm not going to just do this on passive perception. I'm going to say, would everybody like to make me a perception check, and then I'll let me know who gets the highest.
15.
Passive perception.
No, not passive perception. Just roll a perception check.
I'll be on a 14 then.
We have a 10, a 14. So after all that, if I should have just done it on passive perception, because Anwar's still the first one to
Top man.
notice. So yes, there is a as the sun appears, you guys are kind of just starting to get up and move around and load stuff, and at the edge of the oasis between the mosque and the trees, about where Anwar and Aziz were shooting ghouls in the middle of the night, there is a figure walking towards you from there, and you realize quite quickly that it is the hermit again. It's the old man.
He speaks for the ghouls.
You tell me. But he's walking in towards you.
Towards Anwar specifically, or just
sort of towards the group, and he walks forwards until he's past the oasis. So he's about 10 foot from the far side of the fountain. So probably about sort of 25 foot, something like that, from where you guys have been bedding down. And he just stands there looking at all of you.
Can we help you? And if you're gonna say the thing you said yesterday, don't worry, we are gonna go. We have taken your advice.
We just need
And
to
you
know
were
the
quite
way.
right. So we'll probably right on this bit as well.
That is good. You should leave.
Yep, we need to know the way.
The path is unseen, but it is clearly marked.
Should we leave with Farida?
He looks towards the woods and says, "That is down to you, but you should follow the way." I'm gonna ask again. Can all of you make me a wisdom check? Just a straight wisdom check.
14.
10. Nicely done. That's what we've been missing all night.
Okay. Somebody got 14.
Yeah.
Okay. There is something vaguely familiar about it's something in the voice of the guy that you're talking to, but you cannot for the life of you place it. There's just something naggingly there, but you can't work out why you would think that. But yeah,
Just kind of.
and the rest of you are just, you're just looking at the same guy that you saw last night.
So I'm sorry. Have we met before? What a strange. I don't know. I might just be going mad. But do I know you?
I know all of you, and you have met me. This is not easy. You should not be here. You need to leave.
Oh, hold on. What was the name of that? The guy we rescued out of the cave.
Mahara.
Yeah.
It
Well, I
doesn't
can't
look-
act on that information because I don't know. He sounds like some other bod to me. Just reminding you, Ollie.
Yeah. No, I had thought of Mahara, but he didn't place it. So
he doesn't look like Mahara, but he sounds vaguely similar. Farida comes out of the woods, and whoever notices her first will notice that she comes out kind of looking kind of quite smiling, and as she looks at this guy that's walked out of the desert, she says, "Oh, not him again! Why are you listening to this old fool? He doesn't know the way back any more than you do. Come, hurry up, pack. We must go. He's as lost in the borderlands as you are."
then, if you don't mind me asking, how is his shadow always so strong?
Many things have a strong shadow here. I have a strong shadow here. And the guy looks straight at her, and he says, "I know my way through the borderland, and I know what I see things for what they are, and I see you, Great Ghoul."
Hmm. Okay.
What do you? I mean, you're now involved in a three-way conversation. What's and was.
Well, he's kind of got involved in a three-way conversation, which has revealed a little bit more than he had expected it to. Yeah.
Keep it going. Try and get them to reveal more.
Yeah.
More.
He kind of I'm sorry, Ghoul. He's kind of speaking to the air, like these both seem like he's kind of the like we said, he's not stupid, but he's kind of like, wait, what?
Okay. She turns it quite imperiously and just says, "Okay, Simon," and says, "If you want me, you know where I'll be. If you need help, you know where I'll be. If you want to wander aimlessly in the desert, feel free." And at a cloud of jasmine fragrance, she kind of storms off back to the forest.
And what kind of calls? I was just asking.
The hermit just says, "You should not be here."
Yes, so you've said, and we will leave. So the way's hidden, but there are signs. Is that what you said?
"Follow me. I will lead." And he turns and starts to slowly walk towards the edge of the oasis. Now, the rest of you have noticed this is going on, so feel free to join in.
By that, do you reckon? Does it seem like he means follow me? I'm gonna show you the way out.
I will make sure I've got a hand on the reins of my camel, and yeah.
And we'll be like, oh well. if he turns out to be another ghoul, we can always deal with him and come back and speak to Frida, I suppose. And just kind of like, have we packed everything? Is everyone ready? And start trying, maybe go unless anyone has some severe objections. But given what everyone's opinion was of Frida by the end of last night, I'm not entirely sure they will.
No, I don't have rejection, so it's a good idea to at least try it.
Umar calls out to Nabil as Nabil starts to lead his camel after the hermit, and he points at he says, "Wait!" And he points at the mosque and he says, "We have not even prayed for guidance. We can't leave without doing that. It would be madness."
The lawgiver transcends all physical borders. We can pray on the way. We can pray on the way.
Umar kind of turns and looks at Youssef and just says, "But surely we should pray for guidance before we leave. Ask for blessings."
No, we'll pray on the way.
He kind of.
I've got the talisman out. I'm just holding it, you know.
he's kind of almost kind of spinning like a very slow moving top. Looking around the group, and when he realizes that
follow us, all will be well. That's that.
You are definitely making okay. No, we're going now. Motions, and the caravan drivers, probably led by Raha, is starting to get ready to go as well, and.
I should know. I've followed a few in my time.
Aziz and Ali walk out, and they see you getting ready to go, and just say, "You are following. Are you heading out alone?"
Yes,
we are following that guy, but yeah.
Do you want to come with us?
Can't.
They kind of they look past you and look at one another, and Ali says, "May the peace of the lawgiver go with you. May it be your fate to return. Blessings on you." And Aziz walks to Anwar and to Rashid and kind of does a kind of big forearm clasp, firm as firm could be, with you, and says, "Yes, may the lawgiver guide your footsteps, and may your fate be truly glorious." A sort of firm slap on the shoulder. He steps back and beams at all of you, especially at Youssef, and kind of gestures to follow the hermit.
And just like reciprocate the thanks. Thank you very much for having us. I think. And if you see Frida, apologize on my behalf. I might have been a bit brash earlier. I won't explain, but yeah.
Ali looks suitably calming and yes. Aziz's face doesn't really need description, but
it's more Ali. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys head out with your camels, following the hermit, who just seems to be walking. Are you gonna mount up, or are you just gonna walk?
I think I'm just gonna walk. Just Stroll for a little while.
It doesn't keep up walking or walk.
Okay.
Yeah, after I will walk for kind of quarter of an hour or so, but once I get to the point where I go, you know what, we're going to be walking all day, I'll mount up.
Okay, so you follow this aged figure who just seems to be kind of strolling out into the desert. And what you quite quickly realize is that while he is strolling with almost effortless ease, he is likewise moving quite rapidly, and you do find quite quickly that your only option is going to be to mount up, or you are going to struggle to keep up with him. He is just kind of effortlessly shuffling along, but moving at a far faster rate than he should be. And he turns and goes in the completely opposite direction from the way you arrived. It's not quite on a dead straight beeline, but it might as well be. It's certainly not going back the way you were going. So as I'll wrap up because I'm aware of the time, but pretty much as you mount up on your camels and follow this lone solitary ancient figure off into the sand, pretty much within maybe 10 minutes, quarter of an hour, the sky starts to darken and get cloudy, and a chilling would be too strong a word for it, but definitely a cool wind begins to blow. And off in the hazy distance, across the dunes, you start to see dark shapes moving around the various broken pieces of masonry and half built, half broken clusters of old buildings. You can almost feel their eyes looking at you as you make your way on. And as you kind of, any of you that look back at the oasis, you can see it still behind you, bathed in brilliant sunlight, almost as if it's beckoning you back. And that is where we will leave it for tonight.
Cool.